Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Hey there, live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show is on the air. Mike Costa, Mary Bird Godwin, and Greg Todoroff.
What do you want?
Does it all?
I'm not sure.
Well, you know, we were talking today that when Greg does talk, it is a zinger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is a big one.
Yeah.
It's almost like a sniper.
Yeah.
You know, like Bradley Cooper in the movie American Sniper. That's great.
Oh,
He's our version
I like
of
that.
He's our version of E.F. Hutton.
He really is. Yeah.
Was E.F. Hutton funny?
No, but he was a sniper.
He was a sniper.
Yeah, he was American Sniper. Great to have you today. I want to kick it right off with, were you talking about Downton Abbey?
I sure was.
Are you a fan?
Loved
I'm
Downton
a
Abbey.
huge fan.
Dude, right there.
Yeah.
I was too, but what about the movie?
Movie was fine. I just got more of Downton Abbey.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
I miss it.
It was just a,
Yeah.
It was a
because I
great
thought it was
show.
over.
It was so good.
The problem with
so
the
freaking
second
good.
movie
Yeah.
was the guy who lost so much weight. It was like, dude, come on, you're a fat baron. Hey, fat baron, you can't be like Winston Churchill all of a sudden show up.
Yeah, no, true.
I mean, seriously.
Captain's
True.
courageous.
I mean, there's something about like Luther Vandross, right, James? Like Fat Luther was way better than Skinny Luther all along, right? I mean, anything, even although I can't say fat. What's the gal who sang the 007 song? Super
Adele.
Fat.
Adele.
Was Fat Adele better than Skinny Adele?
No, Skinny Adele is everything.
Yeah.
I
But
just saw
imagine if
Skinny
Mama
Adele.
Cass Elliot back in the Mamas and the Papas, looked like the slender James East, for example. You'd walk up the last day and go, "What the heck? What happened?"
She should be able to put a full sandwich down, though.
Oh, too soon.
Sorry.
Did she die from choking on a meatball or something?
Wait,
She did. She choked.
The mom was in
so
the...
now it's
She choked on a $5 footlong. If I'm not mistaken.
everyone's losing weight now because of Ozempic and all.
What is Ozempic again?
It's the shot that you get.
Yeah, I hear that's
for
a bad
people-
thing.
Yeah.
I hear you lose muscle mass and there's all kinds of.
I saw a picture of a side-by-side on social media of a guy who lost 200-something pounds on Ozempic, and now he's soliciting people in a GoFundMe to help for get rid of the
Shih Tzu?
excess skin.
The Shih Tzu?
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Surgery.
You start looking like when you wave your arms wave back. Maybe you had a little too much.
You look like a flying squirrel.
Look at Mary's laughing for the first time in the entire show.
Today.
Oh my God.
It's so true.
It's true.
You wave.
Starts waving her arms.
I got it right now. Jeez.
Hey, would you ever get, well, first of all,
The bingo. It's called the bingo wing, is what it's called.
The bingo wing. No kidding.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Bingo wing.
You hear that?
Mary Bird
Bingo.
Godwin, the bingo wings. Opening up the Mira Mesa Bowl.
That's
But
what we
who's
wanted to know in
the
high school.
manufacturer of this Ozempic thing? Is it like a Pfizer drug? Is it a Catalent drug?
That's
Is
a
it
good question. I don't
a
know that
SmithKline
answer.
Glaxo?
But there's several of them on the
Isn't there
market
like
now.
3?
GLP-1 is what
Yes.
it's called.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
and they're
apparently
sold for
there's
diabetes.
right, and there's a shortage for the people who need it
Yes.
for their diabetes
Yes.
because it's turned into this
Is it a Hollywood
craziness
thing? Like somebody wants to get rid
for
of
weight loss.
Yeah.
Right. So now
Oprah,
there's a shordage because
all sorts of, I would say, Megan Trainor. She's coming to my mind. I don't know for sure.
The one
Mindy Kaling, I think.
The one thing I read about it was, pardon me, is that it slows down your digestion so you feel fuller.
Yes.
Isn't this like the guy from RSLS, from Relay Shape, to
Yeah.
make you feel fuller?
that's probably a much better way
Right.
to approach it, I would assume.
I mean, better health through chemistry is not a problem. I don't have a problem. It's like technology.
It's expensive too.
Is it really?
It's $1,000 a month.
What?
You get one shot every week, $250.
No, but you can't take it forever because you
No,
disappear.
it's like a year, I think. I don't know. 6 months
You know what's
to
a lot cheaper? Let's say this is Golden Corral. Just push back.
Yeah.
It's a
away.
lot cheaper.
Push away.
Push it back.
Pushed away.
I like that.
This segment brought to you
And you
by
can push up it.
Golden Corral and Hometown Buffet and Sir George's Smorgasbord in the local area of San Diego, Chula Vista, Mira Mesa, and Gary, Indiana. Big Biz Show back in a moment.
Very
the Loft 100 Studios in beautiful sunny Southern California. Wherever you are, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, as always, we thank you for being along for the ride. I'm Costa. He's our executive producer, Greg Todorov. And the man right there in his short dolphin shorts, a.k.a. Thomas Magnum like Sully.
He had OP, I believe.
OP, sorry, I take that back.
He may have had all dolphin also. That was a big thing then.
But I think he was OP. I think he was OP.
That's our people doing it. That's the Day Trader Quattro.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the whole thing.
The Quattro.
The Magnum PI.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to Howie Font and the Mick rebalancing. Is what he said. He said algorithmic rebalancing. And I thought all I heard is Mick rebalancing because it's lunchtime.
Yeah. My favorite sandwich.
So Howie, when they do this, is typically when we see a stock drop because of a rebalancing. In other words, let's say an individual stock like Apple or Micron suffers from a rebalancing of portfolio, meaning that we're going to take Micron out of our portfolio, put in something else like Qualcomm, let's say. We see a pretty quick rebound off that, correct? It's usually kind of a dead cat bounce when we see stocks pull back from rebalancing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so what you see is the market understands a lot of these forces. So if you have a rebalancing, if Micron is coming down from an 8% weighting to a 7% weighting, they had to. That's not business fundamentals. The market knows that, and someone's going to use that as buying opportunity, and that's where that dead cat bounce comes in. Yes.
Okay, exactly. So what's next? Are we looking for a quiet summer with not a lot of volatility? Because there seems to be a little volatility going into this first part of the third quarter, and who knows? I mean, summer's underway. Kids go. I mean, it used to be for us. We get out of school. I felt like it was like June 15th. We go back to school September 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's
after
we get out of
Labor Day.
school sometimes beginning of May.
Yeah.
And they go back sometime in the middle of August or something like that.
Yeah.
Do those things affect trading and such, Howie? Are we still pretty safe here for the next few?
It assuredly affects trading. I mean, traders have lives too, I'm told. I don't know. And, they are on vacation. So I've made the point before, but it does, for instance, this week it is pretty flat and it's going to stay flat. We have a lot of catalysts, though, for the rest of the month and the rest of the summer. You're right to see some things. One interesting point that I thought you'd really pounce on and find interesting is the French elections happened last week and over the weekend, and the French market popped because the government changed in more of a right-leaning direction. Now, when they found out that the lead was not as much as they had thought, the market came back down a little bit. It was still up about 1.9%, but it went as high as 3.4.
I think that you'd be surprised.
Could that happen in the U.S.? I think that happens.
Well, stock markets typically go down during a Republican administration, although economies do better under Republican administration. Stock markets historically typically go up during Democratic administrations, yet the economy suffers as a result. So I think, and do some research on that next time we see a Howie. Thanks, buddy. Howie Font, Crash Font.
Crash.
Wait, is Howie still there? Wait, Howie, don't go anywhere. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Did the market, I didn't check the market. When was the debate? Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday night.
So what did the market do Friday, when it looked as though Donald Trump, cool, calm, and collected. I don't know what he was on because I've never seen him. So I feel like he was, the Joe Biden of the past.
Yeah.
By being, steady Eddie, and Joe Biden having a less than stellar performance. Obviously, Donald Trump taking the credit for a lot of the economy when he was president. He could take credit for one thing and one thing only, which caused a broken glass waterfall sort of things. But he lowered corporate tax rates. He went from 39%, which was the highest of any industrialized nation, down to 21%, I believe it was. He promised 15%, but that did a lot of things for the economy. At the same time, whether it's Donald Trump or just somebody else, and I'm not suggesting that it needs to be Republican or Democrat, because I'd love to see a split ticket come in with an open convention for this next election. Tulsi Gabbard and a Kennedy or a Joe Manchin together would be an interesting, sort of an independent, which I think a lot of voters would like. But talk about the stock market on Friday. Was there any knee-jerk reaction from the open air indicator that things went better for one side, not the other?
It's a great question. And when I spoke, I didn't mean to be political. I just the market force of the reaction is all I'm talking about. And I don't think that the debate was a moment of that much of a catalyst because there wasn't that much of a reaction. I think you need an actual result or a shock poll or something like that to really get the market to move. It's still so far out.
But the funny part is the market's moving when the economy is not. And that there you go with the Democrat, Republican sort of thing. All right, thanks, Howie. Appreciate it. Did you guys react? Not politically, I'm talking about, but did you react to the debate? My biggest reaction to the debate, I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
But I don't think Joe Biden did as bad as Donald Trump did good at shutting up. Yeah. Am I coming across? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Donald Trump did a good at being a bit non-reactive versus his old bloviating self.
Well,
I know that Joe Biden has always, in my mind, ever since he was a young politician, sound mealy mouth. Like I can't understand what he's saying because he talks too fast or whatever's going on in there. Mm-hmm. But I think Donald Trump took a pot shot at him at that. But the long story short is, what was your overall opinion of the thing?
Trump actually listened to his advisors and his handlers who said...
Yeah, because it wasn't Donald Trump that did it on his own, right?
No, because they said, just be calm, cool, collected, let him implode, and that's what happened.
Yeah, interesting. So it's interesting to see because right now, the market is not being affected by this election or the potential election coming up in November. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about that is you'd expect a pop one way or the other. It's the economy, stupid, is what James Carville said during a re-election campaign. And if you think in terms of the economy right now, here's the problem. Just like anything in law, anything that we get, I'll give you a perfect example. We are still paying federal excise tax when you buy tires. Do you know what the federal excise tax was when it was installed? World War II, as a tax on rubber.
Oh, jeez.
Okay? We're used to it. It doesn't go away. I believe, when's the last time we paid less than $5 a gallon for gas? A year and a half ago, we were pounding our fist at $3.50.
Yeah.
We're used to it.
Yep.
I believe we are used to this crappy economy. I believe that it will get better. I believe inflation will go down to the twos again. I believe that mortgage rates will go down to the twos again. But you have to remember that this economy was shut off like a light switch, and it was turned back on. It's being turned on like a sunrise. A slow sunrise.
Right.
Foggy. San Diego, California, London sunrise. Doesn't clear up till about 2:30.
Do you see that comeback happening under Biden in another 4 years, or do you think that Trump's going to get in and then the nation is going to say, okay?
I think the only thing I'll favor, as I say, markets do better under Democrats, economies do better under Republicans.
Yeah.
It's because it's the tax issue. Tax money is now repatriated into the U.S. At least that's what the U.S. corporations showed last time, and they gave it to their people. I don't think either of them can do anything about inflation because we still have incredible demand to purchase. We still have a supply problem somehow, somewhere, and we still have a labor pool problem. A lot of people left the labor force. So I don't think that it's going to favor one or the other. Can't everybody decide? I just want something different. I don't want Donald Trump because I can't handle the rancor. I can't handle the constant, like the crap Russia collusion and the dossier. And I can't handle Biden because I can't foresee the guy.
Yeah.
I want something different. And I don't know if we have, like back when Christ walked the earth, you had the Jews and you had the Saracens. You had the Muslims and the Jews. And then this guy Christ comes along. Third party disruptor. Now we got three parties. We got the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims, right? We need a third party.
Are you saying RFK is Jesus?
I'm saying Ross Perot. Jesus was Ross Perot.
Okay. Right.
But what I'm trying to say is there needs to be a viable third party for me to start talking about economy and presidents. Because at this point, Donald Trump, if he gets into office, will reenact pipelines, which will create jobs. That's not going to affect the economy. He will lower taxes.
He'll bring in higher tariffs on countries that are stealing.
Doesn't affect our economy.
It doesn't?
That won't affect our inflation.
Okay.
When I talk about the economy, I'm talking about inflation.
All right.
What's it cost to buy a brick of cheese and a jar of mayo and a thing of bread?
Yeah.
Not going to affect it. And I think the only thing that can affect that is, unfortunately, the Fed increasing our borrowing rates to where we stop borrowing, stop using credit cards to the point where now there's no demand. Prices come down, and then it resets. When do I think that's going to happen? Like I told you, end of 2023.
Somebody knew.
I told you definitively. End of 2023, this is all happening.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, maybe middle of 2024. Right now, it is a crapshoot as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
But it doesn't matter now.
End of 2020.
But it doesn't matter now. We are not modifying our behavior any longer. The open air indicators are that we're going out still. We're spending money, okay?
Yeah.
We're not cruising along. Things are still overpriced. We're just used to it. And that's the sad truth. Just like we're used to the excise tax. Just like we're used to daylight savings time, which is a waste of, time and resources. More to come here. Big Biz Show. Let's go.
It is the Big Biz Show. We are in the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. As always, we appreciate you being along for this wacky, crazy ride with these wacky, crazy kids, including me, Greg Todoroff. And what is it, Captain Underpants or Captain Finance? Sully.
Captain.
Do you have those books?
Oh, of course.
You see today, 125 million TV homes strong. Let's not forget Bloomberg El Financiero in Mexico, another 15 million homes there. Soon to be in Bloomberg EU. Can't quite get to the Bloomberg prime time in the
Baby
US.
steps.
They're lost.
Dan Negroni's here. Dan, great to see you, buddy. Dan Negroni,
Hello, everybody.
CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer for DanNegroni.com. And of course, Dan's been a friend of mine for a long time. Dan was a friend of mine when I was a taco shy of 330 pounds.
Get out of here.
I was in a spin class. And what happens when you're riding a bike, when you're that big, your legs go like this. Your legs don't go like this. So I was in a spin class. Dan,
This is true story.
Dan's in the front row. And the reason I was in the back bike in the very front, because I could see the clock there.
I'm looking in the
All I
mirror.
have to do is wait 15 minutes. I was talking to somebody last night, literally last night, about to go to college, not to go to college. And I didn't really realize what you were coming to talk about today.
I just wrote a blog on it
I
literally
know.
last week.
And and maybe that it was in the back of my mind because I read your blog about it, and I thought to myself, okay, it is $150,000 contemplation.
Minimum.
Right,
probably.
per kid in 4
Per
years.
kid, yeah.
I was thinking, well, if I were to do it over again with all of my children, and look, I got one's a doctor, one's a senior graphic designer, both of them killing it. I couldn't be happier. However, they both would have done the same thing had they gone to junior college for 2 years and transferred and had a cup of coffee at Harvard, Stanford, or any of the schools. The other thing I was thinking is, why aren't we spending enough time talking about how to mitigate those costs? Like, I'd like to start a company where you sell condos to freshmen, and then you use the upside after 4 years to help pay for the tuition. Whether it's $20,000, $100,000. I mean, the real estate typically will go up in the right markets. You couldn't do it in every market, but Dan, to go to college, not go to college. What's Gen Z saying right now?
I think they're asking the question, which they never asked before.
Yeah.
Everyone said, when I grew up, your parents said you need an education, you must go to college.
Right.
And I think the really great thing about college is not the learning, because you're not learning, you're having experiences, right?
Yeah.
And those are your life skills. They're not teaching you it in class.
Right.
I mean, the professors, I shouldn't say it now that I'm a college professor, but you look around and it's just very rote.
Yeah.
Anything you see in a book, you could read, you could watch videos on.
It's almost like what was the movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon,
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting, where he says in the bar, he goes, "Look, half the stuff you're doing, I could read in the public library for $30 in late charges." By the way, Dan,
you just click for it.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, you are the next gen management and talent development consultant, and when we first got together on the air 8 years ago or better. You were talking about millennials, and such. Is the millennial?
They're all grown up and
they
adults.
are. So is the Gen Z, Gen Y, and I don't know if we start over again.
Gen Y is millennials, same thing.
Okay,
Gen X, right? So yeah.
So what's
Boomers, Gen X, Gen Y,
is the
millennials.
mentality moving in the direction you thought it was going to move in, or are these Gen Xers moving into baby boomer thought processes and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think that the question really was, how much is tech going to change the future generations?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
And I think you see with Gen Zs that has changed more than millennials, because what happened, I think, in 2010 was the iPhone, right, from flip phone to computer in your pocket
Right,
everywhere
sure.
you are. And this rewiring of America happened mostly to Gen Zs. Millennials were old enough that they had experienced life, they had done a lot of free play, they had have learned a lot of real things, and Gen Z has grown up in the silo of this screen.
Well, what's interesting too is interesting to think that 2010, 2012, the word iPhone wasn't even in our lexicon.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
It wasn't even in our lexicon.
Yeah, it's only 12 years ago.
When you talk about technology, and the reason I say this is because I remember as you were saying this, we had kids similar age.
Yeah.
And I see my daughters now who are close to 30 years old who were never going to buy a house, didn't care about those things, didn't care about, only cared about taking care of the people. Versus taking care of themselves. Now suddenly they're looking at buying houses.
Yeah,
they're saying, "I'm not." They're own business. I'm not paying that guy $16 an hour.
Yeah.
It's funny how you only get
Where
perspective.
minimum wage is 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you get perspective when you sign the front of a paycheck versus the back of a paycheck. What's the mindset now? Does the mindset change automatically?
For sure, right? Like adulthood, they grow up and they want to achieve things. And the world is very expensive now.
Yeah.
And so it's harder for them to buy homes in particular areas. Right? You could go to the middle of the country and probably still buy a house.
Yeah.
With respect to what it's here.
Without mortgaging your parents' house to get it.
Basically, or without borrowing, kids are borrowing
Right.
200, 300, 500 grand from their parents to get into homes, and interest rates are higher, and so it's a problem. But I think, the biggest challenge is, millennials have adulted and they want homes. Gen Zs are trying to figure out who they want to be, and they're a little bit delayed by the phone. Sure. They haven't had real interaction.
Okay, so as I tell everybody on the show, and I think I've told you this before, I've got a 253-month-old I'm living with in my house. And is it wrong I'll be 60 in November. Is it wrong for me to continually tell him, dude, get your nose out of your phone, smell a rose, go roll in the dirt, play with your Tonka trucks?
Or are we past that?
Is that wrong? Is it because they're just...
Well, for sure, it's not wrong. It's the complete right answer that we all did.
Yeah.
The question is, why didn't we do it 10 years ago?
Yeah, parents would tell us to go outside our whole lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we weren't keeping them away from video games. We weren't limiting their screen time. We weren't saying you couldn't have social media till you were 16 years old. And it's created a real challenge. And so now we have to go back. Truth is, world is safer today than it's ever been. So don't go out and play and your parents watching you for every minute when our kids grew up versus when we grew up. This see you at 5.
We were doing jumps.
Right?
We were doing jumps on our big wheels at 5 years old with a BB gun.
Yep.
So this whole safetyism has affected them, and they're scared. And so they're really smart once you get them trained. They really want to do good in the world. They have a ton of tolerance, but they don't know how to initiate, is what the studies show.
2 questions.
They don't know how to start.
2 questions. The study you're talking about is the study done in Marley in Australia,
Yes. Gen Z. It's
which is
being published October 4th.
And you're teaching this in college right now.
Well, I'm teaching Gen Zs, and I am using the study and the teaching to confirm that my experience is correct and that the study is correct, and it is correct.
So here's my question. You had a great sort of philosophy when you first started in the millennial education, sort of teaching us about millennials and teaching business. There was the millennial side of things, and this is how you have to act in business. But then was the business side of things. This is how you have to deal with your workforce.
Yeah.
How are we doing as the other side of Gen Z on dealing with their new paradigm
when I
shift?
wrote the book, I wrote in it Next Generation Leaders, and it required both sides to change, to your point. And I think we've done a better job of changing than we've done of being able to mentor and teach them to change.
So we were more malleable than they were.
Well, we were malleable, but we're not really good at coaching and like letting someone solve a problem instead of come to us. Give you an example. I give the class a bunch of assignments to do a presentation on strategy, and they want a guidebook. And I say, this is strategy. There is no guidebook for strategy. Yeah. And now you have the internet. You don't have to go rip out pages from an encyclopedia like we did, right? Or go to the library. You can actually figure it all out. And so stop asking me for a guidebook and start asking questions.
Dan Negroni for president. We need to get you in here every week. You are invited every week. Okay. As long as you want to come in. DanNegroni.com, DanNegroni.com, the quintessential next generation talent development consultant. And of course, what school are you teaching? Are you going to be touring?
Cal State San Marcos.
Cal State San Marcos? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you should come. Well, get you as a mentor.
We should do a live show.
Fun. That would be fun.
You absolutely should.
They'd love that.
More of this coming up.
for the Sports Biz Minute, brought to you, as always, by the great people at Prize Picks, the #1 largest daily fantasy platform up there. Simply sign up at prizepicks.com. Sully, Greg, we're going to start off in college football. USC Heisman Trophy winner Reggie Bush has filed a lawsuit against the school, along with the Pac-12 and NCAA, over past use of his name, image, and likeness without compensation. This is now becoming a trend. Back in June, members of the championship-winning North Carolina State men's basketball team from 82-83 sued the NCAA and the Collegiate Licensing Company over their long-standing usage of their NIL.
This is like going back to high school and suing them for not paying you to play pro football.
Well, at what point, Sully, is the cutoff? Or the statute of limitations run out?
It's cut off when everything before NIL is the cutoff.
Yeah.
When they gave name, image, likeness rights to collegiate athletes.
Exactly.
That's the day it starts. Nothing before. You can't do it now. If these pictures and photographs and likenesses were happened after the NIL decision by the NCAA,
right,
then you do it. Otherwise, you can't go back and stuff the genie back in the bottle.
Nope. Speaking of college football, 6.3 million tuned in for USC's first ever Big Ten matchup this past Saturday in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which CBS says is their most watched Week 4 game in 10 years, higher than Ole Miss Alabama last year. This Saturday's tilt with number 2 Georgia visiting number 4 Alabama should also draw huge numbers as well. Once again, proving, Sully and Greg, that the SEC is king in college football.
You know what made Michigan fun to watch the last couple of years was Harbaugh.
Oh, totally.
I mean, so I don't even know who the coach is anymore. I'm not sure. I think I need to find another team other than the Chargers.
There's a lot out there.
Who's coaching? Do you even know the coach?
The defensive coordinator is the guy who got the position when Jim Harbaugh left. And his name, Greg,
Any other professional NFL athletes or coaches now coaching college? We saw Pete, what's his name, up in...
Well, Deion Sanders is the head coach of the University of Colorado.
Okay, there you go. Anybody else?
Kind of turn that program around.
Maybe that's the one we follow from now on. With
Deshaun Foster, who was a Carolina Panther as a player, he's head coach at UCLA.
So I want to see Bruce Bochy go from football or from baseball to college football and see how that works out for him. The guy, I think the guy.
You know how big that helmet would be?
Oh my God, he's got this head the size of a planet. What else you got?
Finally, the roast of Tom Brady was a big winner among sports programming on Netflix during their first half of the year in terms of global views. Brady's special not only outperformed all sports titles on Netflix from January through June, but it was also number 26th among all Netflix programs. We're talking genre, any language in terms of views. And the show wasn't even offered globally. Now, I don't know if that's the reach of Netflix or the fact that it's Tom Brady, who's obviously he's known the world.
He looks like a Kardashian. I mean, like literally like when the Kardashians cut their hair.
He's looking a little...
how much work has he had done at this point? I mean, he was a handsome SOB in the first place.
Put it this way, another facelift will have a permanent goatee, if you know what I mean. That's the Sports Biz Minute. It's brought to you by Prize Picks, largest daily fantasy platform out there. It's very simple. Sign up at prizepicks.com. Once again,
there you go.
Here's Sully.
All righty. I will tell you. Okay, that was a time-released joke. There you go. Richard Stockton is the president and CEO of a company called Braemar Hotels and Resorts. We've had him on the air before. Fantastic guy. Richard, great to talk to you again, man. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, happy to host you as a VIP whenever you like, Sully. You let me know.
We need to go bring a Big Biz Show to go out there and do a show at your property.
Yeah. On location.
On location. Yeah. Hey, talk to us about the hotel market these days. It's interesting because COVID changed everything for everybody, especially hospitality. I see as open-air indicators, as I love to do 3-day trips, that's my deal. If I leave on a Thursday, come back on a Sunday, it makes me really happy. Thursday night to Sunday.
Yep.
I'm seeing it more difficult, unless I've got a dude in the business like Richard, to get a room, to get it in a decent hotel. Is that an open-air indicator saying you guys are getting busier, or is that just because we live in Southern California here?
You know, rates are way up. And there's a recent report that came out, maybe you saw, which said that the number of hotels in the U.S. that are charging $1,000 a night has quadrupled this year to date, relative to 5 years ago before the pandemic, 2019. So rates have gone up, and they've gone up a little bit unevenly. You know, if you are looking at resorts, particularly luxury resorts, average daily rates will be up over 50% from 5 years ago. Whereas on the urban side, They're up, but not quite as much. And in both cases, occupancies are still a little bit lower than where we were 5 years ago.
Richard, talk about your properties specifically, because if you go to the website, it's really interesting because you've got some really unique properties there. But talk about your business in total for people who've not heard of the Braemar Hotels and Resorts.
Yeah, so Braemar is a lodging REIT that specializes in owning luxury hotels and resorts. We have a number of the hotels managed by major brands. We have a number of Ritz-Carltons. So say Ritz-Carlton Lake Tahoe, Ritz-Carlton Sarasota, Ritz-Carlton St. Thomas, Ritz-Carlton Reserve Dorado Beach in Puerto Rico. We've got a Park Hyatt in Beaver Creek. We have a Four Seasons in Scottsdale.
Wow.
So we focus on that luxury end of the hotel spectrum because we believe that over the long term, luxury hotels have higher barriers to entry. It's much more complicated to build a luxury hotel as competing supply. It's more difficult to finance. It takes a lot more time, a lot more resources. So that has some built-in protections to the inventory. That's why we're in the luxury space.
Can I ask you? The Fed Reserve just dropped interest rates half a percentage point, which brought us down in the 4.7 range. It's supposed to trickle into inflation, obviously. Does that affect your business? Does it affect the hotel business at all?
Yeah, it affects us in two ways. It affects us on the top line, and it affects us on what I'd say on the balance sheet. Clearly, we're starting to see in the hotel business some early signs of of economy that's getting a little tighter. And I think the Fed has kept interest rates high enough for just enough time to start to see that. You start to see unemployment ticking up. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback in demand for hotel room nights. So that's kind of the one thing. So this interest rate cut is a welcome relief. We want to put more cash into people's pockets so they can stay at our hotels. But then also from a balance sheet perspective, we finance our properties with primarily floating rate debt. And so we saw our interest expense triple when rates went up.
But doing non-dilutive debt like that versus equity is a smart play, and it's a little bit of a gamble sometimes when these things happen. But this is good news for you eventually here, because obviously mortgage rates and interest rates those type of interest rates follow the long bond. You can extrapolate the fact you'll probably be doing a lot better on the bottom line.
Yeah, and we use about 40% of our debt, so net debt to gross assets, we call it. Which we think is a nice conservative level of leverage. You want to use as much debt as you can without putting the company at risk. And so we believe that in the hotel business, because it does go through cycles and it does experience some volatility at times, you don't want to go really any higher than that. In fact, over time, we might come even lower. And a lot of our peers have even less debt than that. And debt's expensive right now, so there's not a lot of benefit to taking on that incremental risk.
I want to ask a question. Typically in a hotel arrangement, I've interviewed a number over the years, but not a lot. Isn't there an owner of the property and then they insert an operator? So in other words, we own a lot on the beach and then Four Seasons comes in and operates. Is that how you guys operate as well, or do you just buy the whole lock, stock, and barrel along with the operating agreement that's in place?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest misconception for the man on the street about the hotel business is that when you drive down the highway and you see a Marriott, you say, oh, that's owned by Marriott. That hotel's owned by Marriott. It's typically not. It's typically owned by a real estate investor that owns a bricks and mortar. And then the real estate investor will potentially hire Marriott to manage it, but then also brand it. But sometimes hire a different manager entirely, a company that you've never heard of, to provide all the employees to manage the hotel, and then do a franchise arrangement to put the brand on the hotel. Yeah. So it can be up to 3 parties involved in a hotel as you see it in the market.
When did you guys acquire Scottsdale Four Seasons?
That was December 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a fantastic acquisition.
I'm glad you did, because I went in July 4 years ago, and I swear I thought I was at a Hampton Inn. No, I love Four Seasons.
Yes.
But when you're walking around the pool and there's empty chili dog plates on the coping. I when I saw this, I'm glad they did the acquisition, because it makes all the difference in the world sometimes how they operate and who the manager is. You are a publicly traded company, Richard, and I know you can only say so much, and we'd love to have you back in the air again on a regular basis. Next 18 months for you, in as much as you can detail, what are you looking forward to, and what do you think is going to happen with your company?
Well, I could talk very freely about what the industry is looking forward to, and I think it's similar for us. Is we are in a period of where capital is constrained because interest rates have been so high. So as a result, there's not a lot of supply of new hotels coming into the market. The supply this year of new hotels is about 0.5% of the existing inventory. That compares with about 2% per year historically. So when we have less hotel rooms being added for the existing owners of hotels, that's good because there's more scarcity, and therefore, our rates should go higher. And we're seeing that more, particularly in the end that is full service and luxury where we operate versus the economy side. And so, that should be those should be the segments that benefit most in the next couple of years.
I think we'd like to have you come in studio, and maybe we do a Big Biz Show to go with.
I think so.
A tour of all of the properties, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Hey, Richard, want to have you back. Thanks, brother. Richard Stockton is his name. President and CEO, Braemar Hotels and Resorts, BHR. You can go to bhrreit.com. REIT as in Real Estate Investment Trust, bhrreit.com. And there you go.
I think we start at the Park Hyatt Beaver Creek.
It is the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. Hope everybody is having a great day. We certainly are. Why? Well, because we're in the midst of the Big Biz Show. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, we appreciate you being along for the ride. I'm Costa, the one flapping his gums here at the bar. That pretty lady's Mary Bird Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorod. And of course, Sully.
You're such a leisure suit, Larry.
Thank you so much.
That pretty little lady at the bar there.
Hey, look at that.
I'll take it.
How are you there?
Going through the change. Well, she keeps on talking about hot flashes today.
Yeah, I may or may not be having hot flashes.
Yeah, she keeps on going.
Because he's next to you, big fella.
Oh, there we go. Still got it.
You're wearing that. What brand shirt is that? Is that a whale on the? Is that a whale on your pocket?
It's a skipjack, and this is Southern Tide. That's skipjack. Skipjack.
Might want to.
I thought it was Garanimals.
May want to. You want to skip that shirt altogether next time, big fella.
Greg, I go in and I match the purple hippopotamus.
That's how it works.
What is the central color for road work? What's the color you see when you see road work?
Orange?
Orange?
Yeah. And use the cones are filthy dirty.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
I called your watch up.
Oh, I know. Well, you said
what is wrong with you?
You said you're going to get a new band.
I got lots of new bands. Can I tell you this? I love when I say I'm going to get some, and then they don't follow up. I'm just supposed to wheelbarrow it in.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to send them an
But I
email.
don't want to
4
bug
times.
you about it.
No, you got to email them.
If you're offered something,
Okay.
well, you said you were going to get it for me. You didn't follow through. Did you ever ask me?
No,
Again?
I didn't.
Once I offer, that's my job's done. I'm the one offering. My job is done.
You know what's
follow
funny? You're talking about my watch band, and I just realized I've got this lip fungus thing going on.
Oh, great. Perfect.
And I'm always chewing on the band.
Are you really? Does that band smell like last Thanksgiving stuff?
I will not bring this band in again.
He likes to show up casual to Thanksgiving with his shirt undone as well as his pants right after dinner. Did you ever do that? Did you ever do that with the? Did your dad? My dad did it all the time.
Every meal.
No, it was this. It was the
in there and then snap.
It was the hand it was a hand right behind the belt, undone, and just sit there and what?
Yeah,
like
in a collective.
Yeah. What was that all about? That's and a Ham's beer in their hand. Those were the days.
The greatest generation.
You know what Mike calls that? Thursday.
Thursday, of course.
Troy Hazard, of course, is a best-selling author. He's a keynote speaker of some sort, of some note, I should say.
Some sort.
Well, he and I are close to friends where he thought I was serious when I said that. I actually made a mistake. And, of course, he's been a business partner. He had his own show here on BizTV for a long time, which I think they're going to start airing again.
Sweet.
Of course, I'll get paid, but Troy won't. And there it is. Troy Hazard. When are you coming back to San Diego, man? I haven't seen you in person in so long. We need to get you back in town.
Actually, I'm there in a couple of weeks' time, but I understand you guys are on vacation. So
No, we're not. No, we'll stop. We'll quit. We'll have you come back. Hey, listen, this is so funny. You and I have had this conversation a million times because I can sell ketchup to a woman on her wedding day in that white dress. Okay? And Greg can too. And there is, and not for the purpose of taking advantage, because we know how to sell. Mm-hmm. Do you think we know how to close and sell?
Oh, it's good ketchup.
It's good ketchup. But you and I have had this conversation a million times for how we've forgotten how to sell. America has forgotten how to sell. Talk about that.
Well, I think we've got lazy, and particularly through the pandemic. What happened was well, we didn't know who we could sell to or how we could sell because the whole rules had changed. And so we had to go back to basics of trying to find a way just to survive 3 or 4 years. And I think it might have helped us go back to some of those soft skills that we needed to have or used to have before the digital world came and invaded us. And I think that for now, we're trying to work out how to blend those two places and spaces so that we can make use of the digital world that we've learned over the last bunch of years, but still can apply some of that soft skill that is necessary to get the deal done.
I think. Sorry. Go ahead. Troy, I know that a lot of people make that mistake of, I'm not really good calling somebody or cold calling. I'll email or I'll text, and that way I'm going to get the sale and close the deal. How many people make that mistake?
Well, they make the mistake that they think that everyone communicates that way. And I'll give you a very simple example. I've had private equity crawling all over me for the last 2 years after we did our deal in 22. But they're all automated emails coming out saying, we've seen the businesses you're involved in. We'd like to help you sell your business. And I'm going, yeah, whatever. And to the extent that I just fire a note back saying, when you're ready to talk to me, not like a robot, I'm happy to have a conversation. But the automated stuff you're sending me has no impact on me whatsoever. I really don't care. And I think that's probably A, laziness, and B, everyone assumes because we're in the digital world that everyone wants to have an email or a text and no one wants to have a human conversation. I'm not that guy. I'm a boomer. I want to talk to you. I want to hear that you care. I want to hear that you understand what I'm trying to achieve. And when you can prove that to me, then we can exchange by email or by phone.
So my question for you is, if you want to sell your business, let's say, and you're talking about private equity here, every time I've seen friends of mine talk about their business, the one thing they're missing is the fact that it's not just about their sales, it's not just about their assets. You got to have your ducks in a row also. You have to have your taxes filed. You've got to have your books. You've got to have your financials. And there's also the governance issue. Talk about buttoning up, because I think that's a big piece of it, isn't it, Troy?
Yeah, well, it is. And at the end of the day, it's your ultimate sale. It doesn't matter how many sales you've made to get to a point and place and space where you want to sell your business. This is your ultimate sale. It's the grand final. It's the one and only opportunity for you to cash in on what you've done over the last 10, 15, even 30 or 40 years. So if you had a moment in time where you felt you needed to prepare for a sale, this is it. This is beyond playbooks or beyond a script or beyond having some sort of a strategy. It's about being entirely buttoned up so that when you do apply that strategy, you don't have to keep going back to the drawing board and finding information or finding data to help you complete that sale, because you don't get that chance. You get one shot at selling your business. So it is the ultimate sale at the end of the day.
Talk about how do you once they've determined that your brand is the way to go, how do you augment that during the negotiative process? And then, of course, they're going to ask you, what's your next move? How do you kind of deftly manage through that? Because that's a big piece of this. And this is all about step one, right?
Well, it's step one for a lot of owners is to let go of their brand. If it's been, Tom's Brewery or Sally's Nail House or whatever, and a suitor, the buyer, is looking for an aggregation play where they're rolling it into a bigger picture, or it's a merge and acquisition of a number of different businesses around the country, oftentimes that brand is going to disappear. Now, to an owner, just get over it. If this is your payday, if your name doesn't transfer with that transaction, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, they are looking for what you've created in way of your customer service, your engagement, your products, your services, things that are unique to you, not necessarily that are unique to your brand. So if you're being swallowed up in a bigger play, that's fine. At the end of the day, that's where you're going to get the better multiple and the better enterprise value for your business. If you just sit there and say, I'm not that egotistical, I'm not that wed to it, that it has to come with me or has to go with the transaction, you guys do what you want after I'm gone, because I'm at the beach.
There you go.
If we're okay with that, we're all good.
Keynote speaker extraordinaire, great friend of the show, Troy Hazard. Check him out.
Businessman, board member,
author of The Naked Entrepreneur and Future-Proofing Your Business.
And you should see him swill beer.
Oh, can he put it away?
He's an Aussie. What are you talking about?